is the Ed Till Show, Starcom Radio Network. Election Day today. Stand by for our next guest. Our next guest is back with us today for a return visit. Sanjeev Sharma, the author of the award-winning book, 5 Core Methods of Innovation. We'll talk about how Donald Trump rose in the polls, notwithstanding negative comments about women and minorities. Sanjeev, it's a pleasure to have you back on the program. How you doing today?
Very good. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Ed.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a very exciting day in America. What do you make of Donald Trump keeping the race close?
Yes, Ed, if you look at some of the previous surprise elections, for example, when Chris Christie won in a blue state like New Jersey, or when you see Al Gore, who lost in 2000, though the Democratic Party gave you can say roaring 90s. In spite of that, Al Gore did not win with a thumping majority.
Right.
If you look at both of those elections, you look at the person who won the election. In the case of Chris Christie, he gave a clear sign to the voters. He said, I will reduce your property taxes, because the number one concern in New Jersey was, and still is, the property taxes. It has the highest amount of property taxes, percentage-wise. Same thing with Al Gore. Al Gore did not give a clear signal to the voters what is he going to do once he gets elected. Whereas George Bush clearly said, I'm going to reduce the taxes for everybody.
Right.
Voters are like consumers. They are in their subconscious mind calculating what they are going to get out of this election.
Right.
And there is a concept of subconscious, like mathematical intuition. Everybody has an intuition about what they are going to get out of this election, and it is based on certain factors. I'll give you an example. There is a famous math wizard, Shakuntala Devi. She died now, but she came here in 1970s, and she built the largest supercomputer in United States with her mathematical intuition. What she did was, she said, bring the largest supercomputer and give a very complex mathematical problem. For example, finding the 23rd root of a 200-digit number, and I will beat it. And she was able to do it. So essentially, this kind of mathematical intuition, which we all have, she was able to take it to a different level. But all the voters are calculating the same thing. Using these factors, I'm a contributing writer at Seeking Alpha, and many of my articles were published on Yahoo Finance also.
Mm-hmm.
There is a formula I try to create using historical data for disposable income of the masses.
Mm-hmm.
That formula uses wages, the change in wages in a particular year, the change in CPI or the inflation, the change in gas prices, the change in home prices, and the changes in interest rates. I wanted to see, using statistical analysis, whether all these factors which impact the disposable income, which is the net amount of money left with middle class after spending on basic needs, whether a change in the disposable income impacts the stock market. And not surprisingly, it does.
I have no doubt about that. Now, yesterday, the market took off and had a great day. And I was wondering, do you think that they had an idea yesterday who was going to win this election, and they were acting on that?
Yeah, all those, the market was based on the poll results. But the poll results may not be accurate in this election.
Right.
Because if you look at the poll results, they are based on historical data, like this state is a blue state, this state is a red state, this state is a toss-up state, and then they do a sampling. They take a small sample, like 1,000 people or 5,000 people, and they come up with a poll result. The problem with this election is, and I won't say the problem, I would say the difference in this election is that the type of things Donald Trump has proposed, they cannot be clearly said as either red or blue. Because if you look at things like, he says, on one hand, he says he'll bring the jobs back. He says he'll create a wall. Then he says he will renegotiate the trade deals.
Right.
And then on the other side, he says he'll reduce the taxes. Then he says he'll bring the corporate money back from other countries.
Right.
Then he says he will reduce the premium on healthcare. All of these things, it is difficult to put them into one bucket. You cannot call them either red or blue.
Mm-hmm.
But a voter, like a consumer, he in his subconscious mind is calculating what is the impact of all of these things. And to me, with the formula, I can see that it is clear to him that he's going to have some money in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Either his wages will go up, or he will be saving money by taxes, and his healthcare premium might reduce.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things tell me that the voter is probably going to give a surprise.
You do feel a surprise. You do feel a surprise is coming.
I think there could be a surprise, And this explains the reason that in spite of making negative comments against women,
right,
in spite of making negative comments against minorities, all the polls are still showing a very close race. I think if those two things had not happened, if Donald Trump had not made those comments, he would be probably much ahead because of these factors.
Right, right. How do you feel people make the distinction between, he might be good for my pocketbook, but I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the words he uses. He's hurtful sometimes when he speaks, maybe not even deliberately, but accidentally he says things in a way that are offensive. How do you feel that those thoughts are diminished now, and the how am I going to be tax-wise and monetarily has taken over? How do you think the ordinary person balances those two?
Yeah, that's a bit of concern, because some people are really hurt by the comments and they don't easily forget it. But there are certain other people, for them, once they hear it, it impacts them for some period of time, maybe for a couple of weeks, and then they start rethinking about the whole thing.
Right.
And they do their subconscious calculations and they think, no, this person is probably going to be better for me.
Sanjeev Sharma is our guest, and we're talking about the outcome of the election and the factors that go into the voting today. I know that you teach business innovation and you teach finance to business people. What is the similarity between teaching a business person, right, who has a preconceived discipline, they're in a business environment, and then affecting, as you said before, the voters who are like the consumers? What's the difference? Are the consumers wide open to any outcome? Are the business people narrower in their vision? How would you compare the business person to the voter?
Yeah, actually they are good, similar in certain ways, but different in certain other ways. For example, business people are looking, just like politicians, they are looking back at their laurels. They are looking back at what they have done, and they make certain assumptions that the voter, the consumer is going to take them or is going to take their product. But the consumer is different. The consumer is constantly looking forward. That's one of the reasons that big companies are not able to identify a challenger, and they're not able to change their product fast. That's why some of the companies which were doing well at the time of PCs are not doing that well now.
Right.
When people switch to mobiles.
So the the consumer looks forward and business tends to look at what it's done already and accomplishments.
Yeah, business takes some time to adjust to the needs of consumers.
Right.
It is difficult for the leaders to identify the needs of the consumers. It is to go into the mind of the consumer is not an easy task. If you think you can do some kind of a poll and ask the consumer, hey, what do you need? Can you tell me? Consumer will not be able to tell you. It is a subconscious need, which when a new product comes, which has identified that need of the consumer immediately jumps on it.
I was going to say,
right,
you got it. They don't know they want it. As soon as they see it, they act right away.
Right away, yes.
Wow, that's awesome. This used to be called years ago in economics, right? The animal forces, that there's only so much that you can statistically predict, but then there are forces inside, as you mentioned before, whether you're worried about survival, cash flow, education for your kids. These are pushing people. Do you see that there is a difference in various parts of the country, or do you see a national mood, which is right now exercising itself in the vote? What do you think, Sanjeev?
Yeah, certain sections of population, they have a predetermined vote. They are not really easily swayed. But otherwise, a large percentage of population is consciously or subconsciously calculating their future based on what are the promises made by different politicians. And I think those people are going to vote for a change.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very excited about the result tonight, and I'm even more excited now that we have your analysis. So your considered opinion, your deep feeling, strong feeling now, is that there will be a surprise tonight, that this media was not able to track this thing, and there's going to be a surprise when those votes come in.
That's what I think, and my analysis is, which I just explained to you, is to explain you why, in spite of all these negative comments that Trump made, he's still running so close to Clinton.
In your deep feeling now, do you think tomorrow it will be President Trump, or do you think it will be close call, but it will be President Clinton?
I feel there will be a surprise. I think it could be Trump, but I would not like to comment that at this point.
Right.
But I feel that he can give a surprise.
Well, Sanjeev, you are one of our favorite analysts. You are careful in your evaluation. You are precise, and you also, I really enjoy this about you, you don't like to go out on a limb just to get attention. We have a lot of that. Part of you is not sure if tomorrow will be President Trump, but you definitely feel a surprise coming. We are going to mark that down and look at this election after it's over and break it down with you and some other analysts as well. I think you do a great job. People should know you have an amazing book. It's an award-winning book available on Amazon, 5 Core Methods of Innovation. If people want to follow up with you, what's the best website to go to contact you?
They can either go to Amazon.com and search for my book. There they will get my contact information. Once again, the name of the book is 5 Core Methods of Innovation. Or there is a website I have. It's called boringportal.com. It has information about new products, new services, which you can use.
Useful information. Right. I remember this last time. Useful information. And it's called...
Useful information.
Let me do it...
Compared to other websites, which are giving you a lot of entertainment information, this one would give you useful information.
You can do something with it. Absolutely. I also want to mention your book is an award-winning book. Congratulations with that. So we're going to talk again real soon, but I thank you for this analysis today, Sanjeev. What a real pleasure having you back on.
Thank you, Ed.
You got it. boringportal.com. And go to Amazon for the award-winning book, 5 Core Methods of Innovation. our guest today, Sanjeev Sharma, on the Ed Till Show, Starcom Radio Network.